It's Tuesday, March 17, and time for your Barbados Today morning news update. Mass weekend events of We Gatherin celebrations have been cancelled amid the threat of the COVID-19 coronavirus. Prime Minister Mia Mottley made the announcement last night in an interview on state television, where she also advised promoters of large events slated for the next 3 months to reschedule.
We have made a determination that all gatherings larger than 100 would be restricted after we reach stage 1. We haven't reached there yet, but we do recognize that there's some large events that people are planning, particularly that may lead to outlay in advertising, outlay in buying supplies and food, and it may be wise, we're advising those persons to reschedule their events, any event within the next 3 months, to reschedule it until later in the year or next year. Why? Because even though we haven't had a case yet, you don't want people to spend money only to be told within less than 24 hours, and they will be told less than 24 hours that they need to cancel. So against that background, we've said, for example, for the We Gatherin mass-based activity on Saturday and Sunday, don't have it, because we don't want vendors to go and buy food and then find out that they're out of pocket, because if you have a case on Thursday or Friday and the government has to cancel the event suddenly, you're not out of pocket. Against that background, I've told the We Gatherin Secretariat to start looking at more virtual engagement.
While Cropover has not been called off, pre-launch events, which are due to begin within the next few weeks, will be affected.
And those that are early will have to be held back. The music can go out. We can enjoy music without necessarily being out there. If it comes to that, we'll have to take those decisions going forward. You know, there was a time that there was a polio outbreak and they had to postpone Carnival to May, so that these things are not unknown to us.
Meantime, Prime Minister Mottley explained why her government has not taken a decision to impose travel bans and close the island's ports of entry in the face of the COVID-19 threat.
For the first 6 weeks, it wasn't really an issue because we didn't ban people, but we said that if you were coming from China, if you were coming from Italy, if you were coming from South Korea, if you were coming from Iran, that you would, if you did in fact come to Barbados, you would have to be quarantined. Because the flights from the UK have so many more people, and because Barbados is so much more dependent on the UK, the taxi drivers, the hotel workers, the people working in laundries, the people working in restaurants, think of how many tens of thousands of people in this country are going to be affected once the borders close. Now, we accept that we're dealing with a disease, outbreak, that will affect probably 3 to 8 out of every 1,000 in a fatal way. But we may in fact affect far, far more if we immediately close our borders, ensuring that people who depend on a weekly wage or for whom this is the only source of income may not be able to feed themselves, may not be able to buy what they need day to day to sustain their families.
Nursing homes across the country are limiting visiting hours, demanding travel histories, and in some cases facilitating online interaction between residents and their relatives amid the unfolding COVID-19 pandemic. Our Kareem Smith tells us more.
Managers of the elderly care facilities tell Barbados Today they have been closely following guidelines and directives outlined by the government aimed at protecting the demographic identified as most vulnerable. Andrea Johnson, owner of Acacia Nursing Home at Cliff Meadows in St. John, revealed that separate meetings were held with residents and relatives over the weekend to announce that visiting periods would be restricted to once daily while they attempt to facilitate video calling. Jennifer Francis, owner of Alicia's Senior Citizens Home, has been stockpiling aprons, masks, and sanitizers. She has also instructed staff to inquire about the travel history of visitors and deny entry to those who have traveled in the last 2 weeks or are exhibiting flu-like symptoms. The home has also requested that church groups which visit regularly to conduct meetings cease until further notice. Amid the uncertainty around the coronavirus pandemic, older people, particularly those with underlying medical conditions, account for the highest number of fatalities. Although Barbados is yet to record a case, the Ministry of Health last week ordered an end to all visits by groups including churches, schools, and service organizations at its geriatric facility until further notice. Kareem Smith for Barbados Today.
The head of the Barbados Homeless and Vagrants Society says he is concerned that his clients have been left to fend for themselves amid the COVID-19 threat. In an interview with Barbados Today, Kima SAFFREY explained that a plan for the homeless was critical to any effort to curtail the spread of the virus once it reaches the island's shores.
And what I am fully in support of, we have a plan for the elderly, we have a plan for the disabled, we have a plan for children, we have a plan for the country. You must also say what is the plan for those people on the street, because they are the most vulnerable. They are the ones that are walking about the place. They are the ones that will be touching people. They are the ones that will be letting in. So I think that the talk needs to be involved, and I can kudos to the government for all the steps that they have made. But also, you must involve the correct stakeholders when it comes to these things. If not, this is where your problem could start, because these homeless and vagrant clients that we have, not all of them believe that they need to go and check. Some of them just got cut, some of them just got broken foot, some of them just got cold, and they don't even go from there to the hospital. They rally it out. We don't want them to rally it out. In this case, we want them to be able to get the assistance that they need.
There's regional and international news after this short break.
It's Festive Friday at the Bridgetown Night Market at Pelican Craft Center. Kick off the weekend this Friday from 4 p.m. to midnight with loads of food, drinks, and entertainment. Get ready for Crop Over with the Rhythm Roots Street Parade. Party like it's Kadooman Day on the street around Pelican Village with costume reveler, music, and more. It's Festive Friday. It's Festive Friday at the Bridgetown Night Market at Pelican Village Center from 4 p.m. to midnight. Admission free.
To news from the region, university students left Grenada over the weekend despite the fact that the country has not recorded any confirmed cases of the dreaded COVID-19 coronavirus. We get more in this report from GBN.
The lines were endless as students of St. George's University took advantage of arrangements made to get them off the island. With the students leaving in droves, the tarmac at the Maurice Bishop International Airport had probably seen its busiest day since it was opened 36 years ago. The university's chancellor said that the transfer of students from Grenada is in keeping with best practices and guidelines being encouraged by global health organizations and are followed by universities worldwide. He assured the Grenadian people that the flights of overseas students on the weekend was done with Grenada's best interests in mind.
No one knows how long this pandemic will last, so it is imperative that we do our part to reduce density in Grenada and free up resources for those who need it most. SGU will not direct students to return to Grenada until it is safe for normal life to resume, and any action we take will always be done in collaboration with Grenada's Ministry of Health.
And finally, countries are being told to do more tests for the COVID-19 coronavirus. The directive from the head of the World Health Organization, who says countries cannot stop the pandemic if they don't know who's infected.
We have also seen a rapid escalation in social distancing measures like closing schools and cancelling sporting events and other gatherings. But we have not seen an urgent enough escalation in testing, isolation, and contact tracing, which is the backbone of the response. The most effective way to prevent infections and save lives is breaking the chains of transmission. And to do that, you must test and isolate. You cannot fight a fire blindfolded. And we cannot stop this pandemic if we don't know who is infected. We have a simple message for all countries: test, test, test.
That's news. But for the very latest, visit us at www.barbadostoday.bb. You can also subscribe to our e-paper, email updates, or like us on Facebook, and sign up for our breaking news alerts via WhatsApp. We're also on Izumi Media in bus terminals, as well as screenplay at supermarkets and gas stations near you. And you can also hear us on Mix 96.9 FM and Capital Media HD 99.3 FM.